So I want to welcome in Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, good morning. It's great to have you back on. Again, this is historic. It doesn't feel that way because this is now the fourth time we're going through this, but this is historic. And much of this case hinges on a phone call that then President Trump had with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger back in January of 2021. The president said, and I want to read this, "I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have because we won the state." That doesn't, and this is again my opinion, it doesn't seem like he's demanding that Raffensperger go out there and dig up 11,000 plus votes. It reads a lot like frustration about what he felt happened in a state that he felt that he won. What do you make of this and where we are this morning?
Well, each one of these new indictments, it just feels more and more like we're in a type of country like the Soviet Union or other countries that criminalize political speech, that imprison political opponents, not allow people to run on the ballot. I think it's a travesty in terms of our political process as well as our system of justice. Yeah, we are supposed to equally apply our laws to every individual. We're not supposed to have two or three different levels of justice where we target individuals. But that's what's happening under Joe Biden. It's a travesty. It's unprecedented in terms of what's happening. But this is what Democrats do. This is what radical leftists do. They break every precedent. They break every norm. They destroy things. They don't build things. They don't help improve our nation. They don't heal our nation. Remember, President Biden in his inaugural address 8 times said his #1 goal is to unify and heal this nation. He is doing everything he can to divide our nation, whether it's in identity politics or by criminalizing political behavior.
Yeah, it's a good point. And Senator, what we're not talking about this morning is David Weiss, Hunter Biden, and Joe Biden. It's remarkable for a fourth time. Now a special counsel is appointed on Friday, and wouldn't you know it, Monday, another one of these pesky Trump indictments. I'd like to ask you about the timing here. So the DA down in Georgia wants this trial to start in February, just after Iowa and New Hampshire and just before the South Carolina primary. How do you respond to something like that and that timing, that coincidence, if you want to call it that?
Well, again, it's blatantly political. And of course, conservatives, Republicans, we recognize it as blatantly political. So many individuals sympathize with the torment that President Trump has gone through. But the mainstream media is oblivious to it. They're cheerleaders. They're advocates for the left. And of course, Democrat Party, this is what they do. Politics to the Democrats is a blood sport. It's all about them gaining power and denying representation by about half of America, who they want the public to believe are potentially domestic terrorists. So again, this is a politicization or the criminalization of the political process. And if you want to understand what's dangerous for a democracy, this is it right here.
Yeah. Senator, do you think that challenging an election is something that a candidate or an elected official shouldn't do if they feel that an election wasn't on the level? It's my understanding, and the First Amendment makes this pretty clear, that we've got the right to petition the government if we have a grievance.
No, absolutely, you ought to be able to challenge irregularities in the election process. The problem is you have such a short period of time to do it. People who have done wrong, people who have committed, for example, voter fraud, they try not to do it in the light of day. They try not to leave evidence behind, but you've got the clock ticking. In presidential elections, you have the Electoral College that's going to meet, and they're going to have to decide who the next president's going to be. And so courts, by and large, just throw these cases out. I mean, it's always galling to me when I hear, 60, 70, 80 courts rejected these claims. Most of them just dismissed the claims on the basis that they were moot or cloak of latches or some other legalism, and they never ever looked at the evidence. And so we never look at the evidence. And so the media, the left, who wants to cheat, they want to make it easy to cheat. That's how they get away with it, because we never fully vet these claims. I held a hearing. I was the only Republican chairman that held a hearing examining the irregularities of the 2020 election. Of course, I was vilified for doing it, but that's what we need to do. Right. We can't, summarily dismiss the legitimate concerns of half of America as it relates to our elections. We need to restore confidence in our election system. And the media is not allowing us to do that, nor the Democrat Party.
I want to get your take on David Weiss, appointed as special counsel looking into the Hunter Biden case. It seems like the majority of the media and certainly Democrats have no interest in acknowledging that maybe there was a connection between the big guy, Hunter Biden, and all this money that was moving from places like Ukraine into coffers connected directly to the Biden family. What do you make of David Weiss as special counsel and that appointment by the Attorney General?
Well, it's a sick joke. I have the jury out on David Weiss because I've never known the man. By the way, yes, he was appointed by Trump, but he was recommended by 2 Democrat senators coming out of the Delaware party machine there that's been run by Joe Biden for decades. So I wouldn't exactly call him an independent individual. And that's, I think, the main point here. He should be outside government. He's not. But the main criteria for a special counsel is somebody who's independent. I can't think of a human being on this earth that is less independent than David Weiss to take over this role. I mean, he's the one who's in charge of the sleazy, and it was a sleazy plea agreement. They're trying to pull the wool over a judge's eyes. Fortunately, that judge was smart enough to ask some pretty embarrassing questions. The Department of Justice had to back away from it. It was so embarrassing to them. He's the one that allowed the statute of limitations to expire on the more serious tax charges. He's incredibly compromised, and the least independent individual that Merrick Garland could have appointed, and yet that's exactly who Merrick Garland appointed. Go figure.
And that's where we are. Senator, great having you on this morning. We appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson there.